she looks at me and she's in horror. She looks at me and she goes, you?
Gabrielle Bernstein, a role model for spiritual seekers.
I want to teach you about forgiveness because people look at forgiveness and they're like, well, how could I forgive myself for all that I have done? Many people come to me and say, how do I forgive? And forgiveness is much easier than we make it. I had an experience of teaching forgiveness to someone who I thought already knew. I was at a wedding last week for a really close friend of mine, and we all sort of work in the same field, so my publisher was there. And my publisher this is the woman, you can just imagine this is the woman who buys my books. And I'm sitting with her, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, things have been interesting. I've been having some really effed up thoughts lately. And I've been really judgmental, and I've been really nasty to myself and others in my mind. And she looks at me and she's in horror. She looks at me and she goes, you? And I go, yeah, don't worry. I got this. The miracle is that even though in the midst of that chaos and that darkness and that judgment and that separation and all those attack thoughts, I forgive myself instantly. I choose again. The moment I witness the thought, I recognize I have detoured into fear, I choose again. It is a very simple practice that took a lot of cultivation and exercising, but I've gotten really freaking good at it. And so I wasn't actually sitting there to tell her about how difficult things were. I was actually telling her how awesome things had gotten, because I've been in this practice of witnessing that darkness and choosing again, witnessing that darkness and choosing again. And that is the miracle of forgiveness, is that forgiveness is simply a choice. It's a choice in any given moment to be the non-judgmental witness of your fears and look at those fears without judgment, with lots of love and compassion, and in an instant say, I choose again. I forgive myself. I forgive this thought. I forgive this person who may have harmed me. I forgive this situation. Most of the time, guys, it's I forgive this thought. You all probably walk around with some pretty gnarly thoughts. I hear these thoughts. I get to witness you. I get to see you. A young woman told me a story about what she thinks about herself. She's a young woman, and when she walks in the streets of New York City and she trips over a rock on the street, her instant thought is, girl, you suck. Horrible, right? How can we speak to ourselves like that? You know what you say. You know where you go. But we have a way out, and that's what I want to talk about today. We have a massive way out. And it's very, very clear, and it's very, very simple, and we just need to start to exercise it. And many of you, if you're here on these mats at this time, you've begun the journey of exercising it, whether you realize it or not. You are already with me. I had a great opportunity of witnessing what the first step in this process of unlearning and remembering is. The first step is witnessing, non-judgmental witnessing, being the witness of your fear, being the witness of when you've detoured into darkness, how you've detoured. I was on an airplane last week. I've been traveling a lot. I've been on the road, you guys, since, oh my God, I don't even remember, like almost 8-9 days ago. I've run out of underwear. Thank God I manifested underwear today. I was washing my underwear in the sink, and I was like, this is not cute. This is not good. And then I was walking back to my room, and this woman runs up to me. She was in a little booth over there, and she goes, oh my God, I just wanted to give you something. I love you, and I just wanted to give you something. And she's like, I hope this isn't too weird, but we have underwear. Thank you, universe. But I've been on the road so much that I ran out of underwear. Okay. My first leg of my trip, I'm going from Nantucket to New York to Utah, stopping in Utah to Santa Fe. It was a wicked trip. And I was on my last leg of my trip, and I'm sitting on the plane, and there's no one sitting next to me. And you know that moment you start Instagramming, you're like, hell yes, the seat's empty. And so I get psyched, you know? I'm like, this is awesome. And the doors are about to close, and this man steps onto the plane, and he starts putting his luggage above my head. I'm like, great. I don't want to talk to anybody, and now I have to sit next to this man. So he comes and he sits down next to me, and I put on my headphones, and I start listening to my mantras. I'm just like, I got to get out of here. I start to do my thing, and I zen out. And the stewardess comes by, and she starts to offer us our meal. And she says to me, do you want a salad, or do you want this sub that has bacon and sausage? Airplane doesn't do it for me. And so I said, absolutely not, no thank you, I've got my seeds, thank you. And so you know who you are. And in that moment, the man next to me says, I'll have the sandwich. And the judgmental dark side of me goes, oh God, man, don't do this. I said this in my mind, don't eat the sandwich. And I'm like, it's not healthy. I know you don't want that. It's not going to be good. The whole story, you know, it's like, don't eat the sandwich. So I try to forget about it. I go back to sleep. And I used to like to talk on planes, but I got over that. I talk enough. So I said, I'm going to just take a nap. I made my nap. 10 minutes later, the sandwich comes. And it's like, she's got to put the sandwich down. So he's eating his sandwich, and I'm like already awake, and I'm pissed off that I'm awake. So I'm like, forget it. I'll just get on the internet. So I'm sitting there with my go-go Wi-Fi, just getting into it. And I go into the back end of my website because I'm working on the search engine optimization on my site. And so I go into the back end of the site, and I'm just twiddling around. And I see this one blog, and it says, how to change your diet. And so I go in and I start writing tags. How to lose weight, how to eat more mindfully, EFT for losing weight, addiction to food, Overeaters Anonymous. Like, I'm typing in every tag you could imagine. And this man looks over at me with his beautiful blue eyes, and he says, how do I do that? I looked at him and I said, you're sitting next to the right girl. I started to teach him tapping, emotional freedom technique. It unlocks addictions. I start talking to him about my addiction recovery and all that I've been through. I tell him about my mother who was an overeater. I tell him about my book, May Cause Miracles, and I get his address so I can send him a copy. I get him all hooked up. I start emailing him blogs. I'm sending him tips. We are in it. We are in it. And he starts to just tell me about how his wife is so thin and his daughters are so thin. And he says, you know, I'm so glad that my girls got her genes. He says, you know, I really want to change. I look at him, I say, you've got the first step, man. You just said it. I really want to change. Whether you realize it or not, you just opened an invisible door. Your desire to change allowed you to speak up when you were sitting next to a self-help book author. That is how God works, man. You said, I want that, and an invisible door opened. Invisible wings spread for you. And here we are. We've been emailing for a few weeks now. And the email exchanges have been beautiful, and the books have been sent, and he's on his path. It's like, I did that tapping thing. I think it works. And that's how spirit works. When we have the opportunity to witness our behavior and invite in that presence, that's when we are guided to sit next to the self-help book author on the plane. We have these moments of divine recognition and divine guidance when we open that invisible door with the simple words, I want to change. That's your first step, people. An invitation, a sacred invitation.
If you like this video and you want to get more Gabby, check out the next one right over here.